about them Cowboys. It's the Cowboys Squad, sponsored by Game Time. Everything Dallas Cowboys every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from America's team the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Cowboys Squad Show, starting now.
Hard to believe it, but the season opener between the Cowboys and the Eagles is next Thursday. The preseason's already gone, training camp, well, all those little milestones, and now we are counting down to the season opener. That is going to be awesome. Can't wait. But before that, we have NFL Cutdown Day, which is coming up tomorrow, and of course, another edition of the Cowboys Squad Show. So here we go. We start with a welcome to the co-host of the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast. That would be Landon McCool, crushing it every day with Marcus Mosher. Good evening, Landon. And to the far right there, the one and only, the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. Gentlemen, coming up, we've got a lot to get to, a lot of news today, not only with the Cowboys, but all around the NFL on the eve of Cutdown Day. The final cuts are due tomorrow, but the Cowboys have already made some moves today. Real quickly, I'll just throw a couple out at you, and we'll jump in. As expected, La'el Collins waived. Christian Matthew, the corner, put on the injured list, and then also waived, released, cut loose. Nick Broker, defensive tackle Denzel Daxon, wide receiver Josh Kelly, our beloved corner Troy Pride, tight end Tyler Neville, and sorry, coach, tight end John Stevens didn't make the cut. And the Cowboys also placed a rookie running back on the injured list, but it was not Jaden Blue with that ankle injury from Friday night. It was fellow rookie Phil Maffa, placed on the injured list with a designation to return with a shoulder issue.
Got rosteritis, sounds like.
Yes.
Caught a bad case. Not surprised about, frankly, any of those. I guess the only one who was a little bit surprising. Actually, none of the cuts were surprising. I thought that we're going to get a Miles Sanders cut, and it sounds like it didn't happen. It sounds like what they decided to do was keep the vet. He came back to practice today, and then they're gonna stash, I say nicely, that rookie running back Phil Maffa to see what they can get in a couple weeks with him, kind of working his way onto the roster a little bit more. So I think we started to see a little bit what the running back plan is kind of going to be just based on how they're kind of moving these folks around.
Yeah, I think Collins and Stevens, the tight end and the offensive tackle, I think they kind of cut them early to see if they can get them right back to the practice squad. That's my initial thinking is let's see if we can, sneak some guys out here, get them to get through the 24-hour clearing of waivers, get them back on the practice squad. Now everybody's it looks like there's a lot of people trying to jockey that same scenario. So, I think you mix a few guys in with a few guys you'd like back on the practice squad, and whether you get them back or not, it's at this point it's a little bit of a crapshoot.
I could be wrong, but I think La'el Collins, because he's a vested vet, he may just immediately. I think you might be able to immediately sign him once the opening period for creating a practice squad goes. But you're right about John Stevens. He's, it's one of those situations where he's a guy that, obviously they liked a lot. They've talked about publicly they liked a lot, and they want to keep him. I would imagine they would love to get him on the practice squad. They try to get him with a day early with some of these other guys. Hopefully gets lost in the wash with all these other folks. See if they can re-sign him on the other side. And yeah, I think for me, Stevens definitely feels like the one guy in that group where it's like, man, I hope no one notices we cut this guy, or I hope no one picks up any interest on this guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's for whatever reason, he's always kind of dinged. I don't know if it's a luck issue, if it's he hasn't had the best of luck in the last two preseasons of trying to stay on the healthy side of it. So, he's a great athlete, and somebody will take a chance on him. I'll be surprised if Dallas can fit him back to the practice squad.
All right. So where do we stand with the numbers and the rest of the roster? What are we looking at ballpark? Any idea of how many more cuts need to be made? And
quite a few, I would imagine, right? I mean, I think they've got to get down to 53. So
Right.
I don't know what the roster total is right now, but it's probably somewhere in the 65 area, right? Like they probably have to cut at least a dozen people, I think.
I think it's a little more than that. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's a little heavier than that. I would have said 70-ish, and you're gonna be looking at probably 15 to 18 cuts, more cuts, and then they'll try to get the 16 back to the practice squad.
Yeah, and a bunch of people going on different, roster lists and that sort of thing. So, and the other thing to remember too is that Tuesday is certainly not the finish of this, right? Like there is kind of another period where they'll be juggling things a little bit, and then there'll be another round of this week too, right? Like after the first week is established and guys, veteran contracts are not guaranteed at that point. You'll see another round of this kind of churn that will happen with certain players. So there's certainly probably some trades or some different stuff that's going to happen. So there's definitely going to be some inputting onto this team as well at some point. And even though the cuts are due, the final 53-man roster is due tomorrow. It really isn't that final. It still remains a very fluid situation.
Well, they're jockeying that roster just like they are with Phil Maffa. I mean, they're jockeying the situation. They're trying to, see if they can get maybe they're waiting for somebody who they think may get cut. They're kind of talking to their buddies on other teams and saying, hey, do you think you guys might keep so and so? I mean, there's all kinds of jockeying going on, and if you watched any of the preseason football, you'll know why there needs to be a lot of jockeying going on.
Well, a little note from today, Tyler Guyton was back in practice, and Landon, as you and Marcus reported the big news from yesterday, so was Trayvon Diggs. And that was huge.
Yeah, that's pretty big news. And honestly, I mean, I think, it kind of flies in the face a little bit of a lot of the comments about Trayvon's, willingness to go work out someplace else and the efficiency of that, and I think I think it's really great that he's able to work himself in. I think the question now becomes, I mean, it sounds like he's kind of cleared for everything, and now it's more about, can he get into football playing shape in time for week 1? And so we'll find out as these practices come on. I think Friday they actually have a padded practice as well. So we're gonna get a little bit more information, and hopefully by early next week we'll have an idea of whether it's actually realistic for him to be playing week 1, or if this is just an indication like, hey, he's back, he's ready to practice, but we probably don't want to rush him back to a Thursday night season opener. We want to give him some extra time to maybe get ready for week 2.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's, there's something to be said for what he's done the last 6 weeks since he's been in here, because if they evaluated him when he got in here, we know what that evaluation was like. And we also know with him passing the physical now, obviously from that point where they didn't feel like he was where he needed to be to where he is now, you got to give him credit for, working his ass off and getting himself in shape and ready to go. Now, football playing shape when you're a corner, there's so many soft tissue issues, and there's so many, you got calf issues, you got hamstring. There's so many different things that come along with getting ready to play and play at full speed. But I do trust Britt Brown. I think those guys, Jim Maurer, they do a great job with staying on top of all of that. They understand all of the ins and outs of getting guys ready. And, I give that group a lot of kudos because they do a hell of a job.
All right. So when taking a look at the roster, Landon, with you and Marcus, any surprises are you expecting? Is there anything kind of on your radar? Anything that you're focused on that you think we should look at?
I think at this point, the names that I've seen that have been leaked as potentially making the roster, it hasn't been super surprising. I think that there was, I think it was Schottenheimer talked about how he thought that there was going to be some surprising cuts, but I don't know that I've quite seen that yet. Obviously we haven't gotten all the cuts yet, and certainly not the ones that would be shocking. Those are the ones that will come, tonight or tomorrow morning probably. I think for me it's the what's interesting to me is kind of this process happening while getting all this news about all the injured guys and kind of their level of health. The other guy we should talk about is Guyton. I think you mentioned him, but we didn't really talk about the fact that he's his timeline is interesting now, right? Because he's out there actually practicing. We'll see if that actually holds up when we start doing more team stuff. Once pads come on, is he still out there? Again, same with Trayvon Diggs, where he's practicing, but does this mean that he's ramping up for week 1, or is he getting back into the swinging things in anticipation of being ready for week 2? So I'm not exactly sure. It'll be interesting to see exactly what his timeline is, but I think that both of these guys have an effect on how you're going to play the roster game, right? The back and forth, the shenanigans, that they do, right? I think now that you feel like Diggs is, I mean, look, we can say what we want. We're not sure if Diggs is playing week 1, but I think we can probably pretty clearly say that he is definitely going to be back before week 3, right? Like they wouldn't have, I don't know that they would have not put him on a list if
right.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they would have. Maybe they would ramp him back up for 3 weeks. But I do feel like you're probably feeling pretty good about him playing at least week 3, if not week 2. So I think that kind of changes how you're going to attack the cornerback room and who makes the roster, right? So I wonder if and I actually think it affects the nickel situation more than the outside guys, right? Because if Diggs is back, that means you can play Bland more inside, and that means you don't necessarily need to carry or sweat as much, making sure you can sneak someone like Keemon Hall through to the practice squad or any of the younger guys that you like in that spot. I think McCwamu has made the team just because he's a more versatile piece who can do more than the nickelback stuff. But I think if you don't love the idea of having to save a spot for Keemon Hall or one of these guys that you feel like you could probably sneak through to the practice squad, I think having Diggs come back early kind of gives you a little bit more a little bit more confidence that you're going to be able to make it through with week 1 and still have a good solution at nickel, or at least in the first 4 weeks, because Diggs is coming back earlier.
Yeah, and I'm just looking here now, but I mean, does it take you out of the market for a veteran corner now that you think Diggs is ready? I mean, that's where I'm from. It's especially
maybe
when you're playing the money game.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's always been the thing, is that it's like we've been talking about this kicking the tires on a veteran corner in the context of, well, you're just not going to have Diggs for the first month of the season, and you just want to feel like and then we don't even know, because at that point we thought he would legitimately going to take that long to get ready. And so it's 4 weeks, and then how long after that to actually get him back into the swing of things? It's like suddenly this is a 6-week proposition. Now we're talking about a 2 to 3 week week 2 or week 3 proposition. Suddenly the money and the math doesn't add up. It's almost like, man, if you can just get through 2 weeks with the guys you've got, maybe play a little bit more zones, stuff that just play to their strengths a little bit. Listen, I know you're playing the Super Bowl champs week 1. I mean, it is what it is, but it does make sense. Like, if you're not necessarily looking to spend $6 million or whatever it is on a veteran cornerback that you like, or trading a guy to get a veteran cornerback you like, I think it certainly makes it a lot more palatable to try to see if you can just sneak by.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to see if you've got yourself a chance. I mean, I call it jockeying the roster. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what you're doing. You don't have to get to the front of this horse race right now. You got to get your horse kind of through the traffic, make sure you don't get stuck behind somebody that's throwing mud on you, and then get yourself in position to go. And I think that's exactly what they're doing.
Because real quick, Jeff, it becomes like about surviving 2 games with Andrew Booth out there versus having to sign a guaranteed contract with a potentially 30-plus-year-old often injured cornerback, which is basically what's available on the market. I mean, that's not a knock on those guys, right? But it's a lot of money to commit to a position that, as Coach just said, has a lot of injuries, right? So maybe you prefer to try to, get younger at the position and wait on maybe like Josh Butler to get better, and then you've still got even more reserves coming in, and then see if you can just get through this early part of the season and survive.
All right. Quick roster question. I forgot how this works with the new expanded practice squad. Can they sign a player right to the practice squad, or do they have to waive them first and then sign them to the practice?
It depends on who the player is. It's if they're available.
If he's got more than 4, if he's vested,
that's right.
I want to say if he's vested, he can go directly to the practice squad. But
yep.
I mean, here's the thing: is if you are vested, you're probably taking an immediate call. I mean, if anybody's interested in Lyle Collins, he's not going to sit and say, "Well, I'm just going to go. I'm ready to go to the practice squad." He's going to say, "Give me a day or two to think this out, figure this and figure it out." Or he's going to say, "You know what? I'll go ahead and take this practice squad deal. If they come get me, okay, I got a bird in the hand versus 2 in the bush."
I'm sure they go to him before. That's why Lyle Collins is the perfect practice squad guy, right? Is because he's here because he's friends with Dak Prescott. They're giving him an opportunity to kind of rebuild his career a little bit. And honestly, he wasn't going to make probably he's going to make the vet minimum, whatever his deal is, right? So, I think him being on the practice squad with the team he knows close to where he lives, I think that there's a reason that they felt confident that they could sign him and then I honestly think that this was probably their idea from the beginning when they signed him, is like, hey, this is a guy we could cut. We know he'll stick with us because he's loyal. We'll just say, hey, stay around town and we'll put you on the practice squad. You'll get paid the same. And then he just becomes a guy that is like part of your depth that's on the practice squad because he likes the organization. He likes playing with Dak, that sort of thing. So I love these kind of situations because you get a guy where you're not really worried about him. I mean, I think you probably have an agreement with Lyle, like, hey, we're going to cut you, but we're going to definitely put you on the practice squad. We'll pay you X amount of money. You get to play close to home with your buddies. And that's probably all Lyle's looking for at this point of his career. He's made a lot of money. I think he's looking to play football while he still can at this point.
All right. Well, when we come back, speaking of Trayvon Diggs, he spoke today after practice, but talked more about a teammate than he did about himself.
What teammate was that, Jeff? Do you anyone in particular?
MP.
No, that's too obvious. Maybe M. Parsons. No, Micah P. One of those two.
We'll get into that when we come back. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right. We've talked to you before about Rougier, and guys, you've heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougier Ready. Rougier Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougier's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue, and it kicks in fast, on average, in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. Head to Rougier.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's Rougier, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. It's completely online, and Rougier connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougier website for full safety information. Okay, we are back. The Cowboys Squad Show. Landon McCool and the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. We are a little over a week away from the Cowboys season opener against the Eagles. It's going to be here quick. Man, football is back. It's a beautiful thing. Good the Cowboys wrapped up their preseason on a win, even though it meant absolutely nothing at all. But I think it was a better performance for sure for Joe Milton. Had to feel better about his performance. But we talked about this a little bit on Friday. Marcus mentioned it, and it was all over social media. Just not the best look for Micah during the game. Talking about Micah Parsons, just the way that he was kind of checked out and at times and laying down and just seemed to be disengaged. And I get it. That's part of the gig. But with that said, Trayvon Diggs spoke after practice today, and he said he's not sure if Micah is going to be able to play, if he's going to play next week's opener. Diggs also said that Micah wants to stay with the Cowboys despite his trade request. And then Dak Prescott also spoke as well and said he is hoping that Micah will make it. But needless to say, nothing has changed. It just seems like the outside noise is just getting a little bit louder with each day that we get closer to the opener in Philadelphia. Where do you guys stand?
I'm going to pull a Marcus here and step aside and let Coach speak for a second.
Well, I mean, was it a good look to lay on a table? No. Did it look like you were, without your jersey on, engaged in what was going on? Yes. I don't know what you want the young man to do in this situation. He's done, he's been at practice. He was at camp. That's my side of what I see out of that. I see the flip side of it with Jerry, which is, look, I feel like I had a deal with this young man. I was ready to pay him the guaranteed money to make him the highest paid defensive player. And so we got two parties that are dug in. I've seen the look that I see from Mr. Jones. I'd like to say I haven't seen it, but I have. And it is when he is dug in with some red ass. And he's dug in with some red ass. And so I don't think that'll let him, that didn't let him affect when he went over and Micah's mom was at the game and he, greeted her and talked to her. But at the end of the day here, I don't feel like we're any closer to a deal. I think this is one of those situations where if I had to bet my last $1,000, it's going to have to be Micah coming to Jerry instead of the other way around. And so are there people, whether in the building, out of the building, are there people that, have Jerry's ear at this time? I don't know that. And do I think that Stephen might be able to influence his dad away from that dug-in mentality? We've seen that happen before, but where I sit today on the 25th of August, where I used to have a really good feeling and think this was really going to get done, I've flipped that script. I don't have a good feeling, and I hope I'm wrong because I think this young man is a generational player. But I think we just got us a standoff here, and I don't have a good answer for how it's going to end.
I want to add this real quick, Landon. I'm sorry, real quick. Kip Brown commented. Kip says, "Hey, Diggs also said that Parson works out and trains hard every day, even out in Cali. He said Parsons loves his teammates and they're his family. Tell that part too, or did you not hear that?" I did not hear that. I just grabbed the one quote. So that's the whole story. Was and Kip, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying that's literally he said he's not sure if Micah is going to play in week 1. That's not my opinion. That's what he said. And I think to Coach's point, I think we all went from oh yeah, this is a joke. This is just, it's fun and games and everybody's having a good time. And then it'll get done and we'll be ready to go and he'll be the highest paid player and we'll get ready for the Eagles. And here we go. And now it's not looking that way.
I'm still not moved yet.
Okay.
I mean, it just feels too manufactured, all of it. Like, you know, like the outrage feels manufactured at times. And I'm not saying that people aren't really, you know, saying these things and being that way, but like when I found out that people were like really upset about really upset about the you know, laying on the table, it's like this feels like watching, you know, politics with gotchas, right? Like this feels like in a vacuum this is a non-story, but because we're all talking about the standoff between Micah and Jerry, and honestly, like to me, I feel like if anything, you know, I feel like Micah in a lot of ways is kind of caught in the middle of this, you know, and I think to me, I have no idea. And I think that's we could all agree on that. None of us have any idea, but if I had to put forth a theory that I think encompasses all the things we've heard, it's that Micah and Jerry sat down and agreed to a deal, right? Micah was happy with the deal. Micah went to go talk to David about the deal he made. David smacked him upside the head, said, "Why are you trying to make a deal while I'm not in the room? Don't you understand that you're not only negotiating for yourself, but for all the top-end non-quarterbacks, and that you have a responsibility to these people?" I think Micah got upset about that, changed his tune. Jerry rightfully got upset. David's rightfully upset. Now those two sides are rightfully upset at each other. And Micah Parsons just wants to play football. He probably feels bad about the fact that, you know, he went in there, agreed to a deal with Jerry, but then realized that he made a terrible mistake. But that's where we stand right now. And that's why I think you see Micah behaving the way he is because he probably feels being torn in half, right, between these two sides. So I tend to agree, Coach, that I think that Jerry's dug in for you know, probably legitimate reasons if he actually feels like he had a deal agreed to. Everyone can talk about the fact that Micah, you know, that Jerry should have had the agent in there, and that may or may not be true, and I think that could be, you know, litigated if it needs to be. And I think also the NFLPA at any time could step in if they have a problem with the way that contract was negotiated. At the same time, I think if you're going to say that, I think you also have to understand that Micah Parsons is a pretty savvy guy. I think we've all talked about that. And if he was being taken advantage of, he probably should have known better. You know, he probably should have known that he needed his agent in there to have a conversation. So I have a hard time blaming any one side on this when I think that both sides have made pretty serious mistakes, and that ego is involved here. And that's why both sides are dug in. And I think somebody's going to have to blink. I hope that it's Micah, you know, kind of coming to a sense and going, David, I don't want to continue to do this. So let's get this deal done. And then they've kind of find a way to figure it out. I still think it does get figured out.
Okay. One other point, Kip also points out that Mike has said that, hey, he's anxious to play and it's killing him not to be with his teammates. So it's, you know, it's important that we put that out too. I don't know. It's just hard because we really think we know, but we really don't know. We don't know for sure what's really going on. So
yeah, here's what I know though.
Okay.
I mean, that's not
All right.
pussyfooting around. He had a first-year head coach who's never been a head coach. Okay, never been a head coach. First-year guy. He's put in a situation where now he's having to address something that happened on his sideline during a preseason game. Was a bad look. Okay, let's don't make any mistake about it. I'm not blaming Micah one way or the other. I think he probably is torn. I think he does want to be with his teammates. I think he would like to play. I think he would like a contract. I think all those things. At the end of the day, you got a first-year head coach in a bad position. Now he's having to address it before the season ever starts, before we've ever blown one whistle, before we've ever done Rudy Poo nothing. We got an issue that a first-year head coach is having to deal with. Blame Jerry, blame Micah, blame David Mulligetta, blame whoever you want to. But at the end of the day, it's an adversity that you really don't need in your building going to play the defending Super Bowl champion. And great. We can sit here and talk about it. Well, we don't know, and we don't know. Yeah, we don't know, but what we do know is that it's causing adversity in the building when quite frankly, it needs to be turned. The attention needs to be turned once you get these guys off of your roster, and once you shore your 53 up or whatever it is, it's going to move some. You need to turn your attention Wednesday to the Philadelphia Eagles. This does not need to be a distraction. It's going to be a distraction. It's going to be something that this first-year head coach has already had to deal with, and I'm sure he's talked to the team about it, as I'm sure he's talked to the player about it. So that's the one thing that I do know is that it is caused an immense amount of back and forth and stress on your football team.
All right. Well, I have one final thought. I'll do that when we come back. I want to ask you guys a legit question about what I think we have to address it. I mean, what if it's not done, and what if the holding continues, next week and before the opener, and what if he doesn't play, and where do we go from here? So we'll get into that when we come back. Got some great comments coming in. Stephen White jumping in. Appreciate that, Stephen. And we'll get to more. We've got a lot of people watching live online. We appreciate it. Back with more after this. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right. Well, want to let everybody know that we have a very important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and viewers and what we want to make your favorite podcasts even better. So this is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. So here's what you do. You go to lockedonpodcasts.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcasts.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thank you in advance for helping us out. And August 26th, that's like tomorrow, right? It's officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Okay, welcome back to the Cowboy Squad Show. Landon McCool, co-host of the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast with Marcus Mosher. They crush it every day. And of course, the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. So I'm with you guys. For me, it's not for me, where I'm coming, it's not about blame. I'm not looking to blame because blame is lame and doesn't do any good. What I think you kind of hit on it, Coach, and you as well, Landon. Really, it's about, look, we got the season coming up. It's go time. Like, it's time to focus on the Eagles. It's time to focus on getting this team being the best that it can be and getting back to the playoffs and hopefully to another Super Bowl win. So I'm wondering that like the silence is deafening. Like as you said, Coach, somebody who's going to blink. You said, Elaine, who's going to blink? But I feel like it would be nice if somebody were to blink first. And I think it's just hard because, you know, we live in this day and age where especially with you take care of your superstar players, usually get taken care of. Usually superstar, like the best of the best, usually you don't have to sweat this kind of stuff. They usually, you know, kind of falls into place pretty easily. I don't know. Maybe I'm off base. Maybe I got spoiled by covering the Lakers when I did, but I just, you see TJ Watt and what he's been paid, and you see where, so to me, it just shouldn't be it. There's nothing, there's no big mystery here. There's nothing like, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. So I just don't, it's hard for me personally, because that's not how I'm a fixer but I'm not a billionaire. I'm not a multimillionaire. So I like to fix things and like to make peace and bring people together and get solutions. But if Micah wants to play and Jerry wants to win and the agent wants to get paid, I just think it would be better for everybody to try to resolve it rather than just digging in and staying silent and playing the pride game. But maybe I'm being naive.
I mean, I think all those parties want all those things that you said, but they all want those things on their terms. And that's what's being argued about, is whose terms are we doing this on? So correct. That's what's being haggled up.
It's correct. Is it a 3-year deal? How much older is Watt? Then is he 6 years older than Micah?
I think it's more like 4 or 5. Probably, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever the number is.
Yeah.
The bottom line is he got a 3-year deal. You don't want to have to go through this in another 3 years. So let's take the money out of it. Now we're talking about time frame here. So to say, well, Watt got 41 for 3 at 123. Okay, well, let's give Micah 3 at 120, whatever. I mean, make him higher paid. Whatever the scenario is, that's the issue. Then becomes the years of service that you're getting, the guaranteed money that I'm sure both sides are looking for. And at this point, I don't know how to say it any different than I've said it, because I've been in Mr. Jones' office before, and I know you could say, well, you know, you shouldn't do a handshake deal with a Gen Z or a millennial, whatever the scenario is. And I can tell you that, I mean, Jerry has said he felt like he had a deal in this situation. And I understand Micah's side too, because he's negotiating the deal for Aiden Hutchinson, right? Or whoever other defensive player is out there. And so he's kind of he is in the middle of this somewhat of a tug of war. But my thing is, Wednesday, if you don't have something done, I just think you got to go with what you got. That's the coach in me. You got to go challenge Tyrus Wheaton, Marshawn Nealon, and Sam Williams and Dante Fowler. And you got to say, boys, we got to saddle up here and go get this done. And that's, I mean, I don't know any other way to approach it other than that.
I mean, I just don't see a scenario where Micah Parsons isn't playing. Like, that's, I mean, we can talk about the contract, whatever it is, but like, I just don't see I just can't see a scenario where Micah is actually going to hold out for multiple games. I mean, I think there could be a situation where maybe he tries to do the fake injury thing. I really hope that that's not the route that we go down. But I mean, honestly, like, he has to play a certain amount of games to, accrue a season. So I mean, even if he decided to skip games, it would be like, I don't know. To me, this is all really silly talk, because this is like, I have a feeling that we're not even like, this is going to be pointless in a week, but I could be wrong. But either way, like, I'm not actually concerned about whether Micah Parsons is going to be playing for the Cowboys this year or not. I mean, I'm still not at that point yet.
Okay. All right. Well, we did have some signings. Hendrickson signed with the Bengals, so that one's done, right? Amari Cooper, former Cowboy, goes back to the Raiders. Those are some notable moves today. And of course, we're waiting to see what cuts for the Cowboys by tomorrow's deadline. And
yeah, we should talk about the fact that the two other trade request folks signed their contracts today. So, the all-time, I think, trade requests are like 0-18 or something, like in the last 2 years or something. So, I mean, again, another notable data point for the Micah situation.
Yeah, McLaurin said he wanted out. He got a 3-year, $96 million deal, and Kingsbury's happy because he can pair him with his sophomore quarterback, and they can, move forward. And Hendrickson got a 1-year, I think, $14 million extension on his deal. So, yeah, they got that done. So now we're here. We are. I'll just say here we are talking about the same situation, and I don't know any other ways to cut it up. I don't think it makes a whiskey crap what Trey Hendrickson did to Jerry Jones or to Micah, and nor do I think it matters that hey, they had trade requests, and it's part of the negotiating process and part of what goes on right now. And they're not neither one of those guys is to the level that Micah is. So Micah is the best defensive player that there is, and he wants to be paid that way, and that's what we're talking about, guys.
I think it's even more than that too, right? Like Coach kind of hinted at, like, I mean, to even mention TJ Watt, like, they're not in the same pantheon when it comes to value, right? Contract value, right? And I think that's part of the issue here, is that David sees an opportunity here. I'm avoiding trying to say Mugaletta, because I know every time I say it, I feel like I'm going to stumble over it, and so I'm trying to avoid insulting anybody. I think that the issue is that Micah is the most valuable non-quarterback in the NFL coming off of a rookie deal, right? Yeah, and so I think it's a tentpole contract for agencies, for the NFLPA. Like, they have to make sure that this guy goes out and gets all the money he can get so that they can move the ball forward, right? In general, for player contracts. So I think that's interfering with some of the negotiations here, or at least some of the David Mugaletta's, motivation here.
For lack of a better comparison, I mean, this is like.
Don't laugh, Coach. I'm sorry, I screwed it up. All
right. Look, man, I'm a father. I love that you stepped up and gave it the effort that you did, and then you butchered it. Right? That's perfect.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, it's okay. That's better than I could say. But no, for lack of a better comparison, I mean, this is like a Scott Boras moment for the NFL, right? I mean, this is like, as you said perfectly, this is the best of the best, and a big moment for players and guarantees and all that. And I totally get that, and I've said this.
Let me ask you guys this. I mean, when and help me if I could be off here, but I was thinking this earlier, when Haslam paid Deshaun Watson the number he paid him. It's my understanding that it really ticked off a bunch of NFL owners, because it took the scale to another level, as it ticked off a bunch of guys when on the other side of it, when Mahomes signed a 10-year, $500 million deal, it set the balance correct of what a quarterback should make, could make, and all that. So I'm wondering out loud, is that pressure now on Jerry, that ownership pressure to say, hey, you're going to have to pay, you're going to have to pay more, and it's going to have to be, out there, because Aiden Hutchinson, again, has to be sitting back and thinking, okay, whatever this number is, boys, I'm right there with him.
That's what I'm saying. This is not even, it's not it's a proxy war for the larger battle between agents and ownership, right? Yeah. It's a larger, a battle of like making sure that the contracts are getting the ball moved down the field, metaphorically, so that it raises the ceiling on all these deals. So yeah, I think if Micah takes a $40 million a year contract, it's a huge loss for the NFLPA, for agents, and for almost every single defensive player not named Micah Parsons.
Yeah, and that's I guess what I've been trying to say in a roundabout way, and I forgive me, I haven't said it correctly.
Well, quit crapping around and say it.
Okay, and that is, look, Jerry. Look, I started watching the Netflix documentary. I got through 3 episodes. I actually got to cover that Super Bowl with the Bills when it was. We'll talk about that another time, but the documentary is awesome. I mean, just awesome. And I've always had respect for Jerry. I have even more. I mean, and that's sincere. I don't know him personally. I'm not talking about, I don't know what, but I'm just saying for the decisions and, I mean, playing football and the team and all that. I mean, full blown respect. All the point I'm just trying to make is in year 2025, it's a different world. And the way players are paid and the way players are treated, it's just a different time. And all I've been trying to say from the beginning is like, when you're talking about a superstar player like Micah's caliber, it is what it is. I mean, I understand that, but he that's what the market, like, it is what it is. So that's why I'm kind of surprised. Like I'm not in Jerry's shoes, but it's like, I want to say, but Jerry, dude, it's just part of the show, man. It's part of the game. So just, I know you probably don't want it, but you got it.
Well, this is part of the show. This is part of what we're doing right now is part of the show and part of the game for Jerry. Like, so, I mean, it's hard. He's set in this way. So that's just what it is that and honestly, that's why, I still feel like this deal is going to get done, is because it's just every single year Jerry pushes it a little bit further. How much more can we get out of this conversation before finally signing the deal? And to the detriment of the team, but it makes for great theater, I guess.
Yeah, it's just the thing though. It just and coach has brought this up, and it's just you can't. There's only so much pie to go around, and so I understand. Jerry wants to save a couple slices here and there, but with a player of Micah's caliber, there's just that's like one you really can't get around in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not going to draw me off sides into the same conversation of what. Okay. Where I've been before, because everybody says stretch, get over it. You know what? I guess I'm gonna give myself my own couch time, do some counseling, and I'll get over it. But I still keep coming back to Jerry feeling like he did everything that he needed to do to make the guy the highest paid guaranteed defensive guy that there was. And Jerry doesn't really, at the end of the day, he doesn't care about what the NFLPA says or what the agent says, or he doesn't care about that. I mean, he cares about his football team, and he cares. I mean, if you didn't get anything else out of that documentary as an outsider looking in, I mean, you get out of it that this is a guy that put everything he had in $150 million. He mortgaged everything he had to buy the team. And so, he's not afraid of that part of it. And he's also not afraid to step out and get and do what it needs to be done to make it a winning franchise. He wants to win worse than anybody wants to win. There's no question about that.
All right. Well, I think we've beaten this one into the ground. So we'll just we'll let it play out. And Landon, I hope you're right. I hope it's just part of the show, and that when push comes to shove, they'll get it done. I know a lot of people.
But a reminder that even if they don't get it done, they don't have to get it done. Like that's the other thing too that I want to remind folks. He's under contract, and they can tag him for 2 more years, which is part of this. So I just have a hard time thinking he's not going to play this next few weeks.
Yeah,
unless he's injured.
Well, they did the whole back thing, and they went through the the MRI looks good, his back looks clean, so maybe that's paving the way for him to return when they get back to practice on Wednesday and get ready for the Eagles. All right, we'll take our final timeout. When we come back, some final thoughts, and we'll look ahead a little bit to tomorrow and start to begin the countdown to Thursday as well. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right, well, not only are we getting ready for the NFL season, this episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. The NFL season right around the corner, and you can feel the buzz. Fantasy football season is here. Everyone's researching, drafting, and building their championship squads. If you haven't joined a league yet, now's the time, and it's all happening on Yahoo Fantasy. You can play fantasy football on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran creating your millionth league. Yahoo Fantasy is loaded with fun ways to compete, the brand new features that make the game even better. Now, you want more ways to play? You can try their new Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine League mode, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated weekly until one team is left standing. The NFL season kicks off on September 4th, so don't wait. Start your league now. Draft now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, guys, welcome back to the Cowboys Squad Show with Landon McCool and the coach Glenn Stretch Smith. All right, Landon, give us a little preview. What do you got? What do you guys got coming up? Obviously, full cutdown mode and roster reaction.
Yeah, there's just so much that happens over these next few days. I mean, obviously the cut down, all the roster movement around the league. Just keep an eye on who's coming available on the waiver wire. You just saw that Audric Estime got cut by the Broncos. He may be a guy Cowboys may keep an eye on. But I just think there's a couple different positions that feel not quite settled yet, and we'll be reacting to any kind of roster movements that are going there. And then obviously as we get closer and closer to week 1, getting ready for the Eagles on Thursday night.
All right, Coach, anything on your radar here this week?
Yeah, well, I do. I want to see these cuts a little bit. I know we've talked a lot about backup quarterbacks. I saw Aiden O'Connell broke his wrist, the Raiders. So, do they go after, Thompson Robinson and somebody that's familiar with Chip Kelly and what he can do with the Raiders? I do want to see kind of what happens with some of these backup quarterbacks. I think it's interesting. You got Detroit's only got 2 quarterbacks, and you got Cleveland that's got 5. So I think there's a lot of interesting juggling going on with the rosters.
All right. And Landon, a comment that you made, I think the last time we had you on, was just kind of like we're in this kind of this dark right now. And really what I mean by that, what I think what you were alluding to is we just preseason really didn't reveal too much, right? And so practices have been good, but until until we get to next Thursday. The roster is going to be set here by tomorrow, but we'll see, and we'll have to see when they get on the field. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we haven't learned a ton. I think we've learned, certainly a lot about certain parts like of the roster and maybe about individual players. But someone was talking about it today, like, they were very vanilla in these preseason games. Like, they didn't show, and honestly, just in comparison to what I saw at practice and training camp, like, they were definitely showing us a lot more and interesting stuff, especially specifically on offense, that we didn't really get a look at in these preseason games. And then Dak commented on it today. And so I think that they said that they've been intentionally coy a little bit. And I guess that, that makes sense. If you're not going to be playing your starters, then why, and it's in the preseason, why show any exotic stuff? You kind of want to just run very vanilla stuff to see how to get a good evaluation on these guys. Right. It's not really a great evaluation to have your running back throw a pass, right? So I think it's going to be interesting to see exactly once we get into week one, some of the things that we haven't really talked about in depth is how is this offense going to look different than it did last year? I mean, I think we all kind of agreed this is a, Dak offense, whether it's Mike McCarthy or Linehan or Kellen Moore or some sort of blending of all of those guys. But I where is Schottenheimer kind of impressing his, influence on this offense? Because it does seem to be in the area of pre-snap motion, condensed formations, and maybe a slight adjustment to the amount of gap scheme in the run game overall.
Yeah, I do think that's going to be interesting because I'd like to know what is Vic Fangio? What are they practicing? I mean, what are they really looking for? Or
what do they got on the cards, more, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Are they more looking at, hey, what are our matchups and what are our better matchups and how do we think we can get to this quarterback? I do believe they're going to blitz. I think they're going to blitz him, and I think you're going to have to see how Dallas adjusts to that, because coming off of that injury and coming off of not having played football since last October, November, hey, it's going to take a little time. I don't like that they got 0 reps in the preseason. That's me personally from a coaching standpoint. I don't like that. I like to see some players get a little burn. You can control the ball coming out. You can throw some quick stuff, but I would have liked to have seen just a little bit of them getting some playing time, much in the same way that the Chiefs did Mahomes this last week when they gave him 3 series and let him go out there. And I mean, I would like to have seen that. And so I think because we didn't see that, I think it could be a little bit aggravating to watch early. But we'll see, and hopefully there is a mix of all of all the way from Jason to what Lanahan did to what McCarthy did to what they want to do now. I'm sure they're doing everything they can to keep it somewhat structurally to where it's Dak friendly, and it's I've said this before, it's on him. They got him the weapons. He got the receiver he wanted. He got the 2 he wanted. He's got his tight end to an extension. He's got a good offensive line. Now, you know what? Let's see you go play.
One thing too, I 100% agree. I'm hoping the one thing that they start to push back on Dak a little bit is I'd like to see him be under center a little bit more. I think it would end up helping the run game immensely. I think what we've seen is maybe the compromise there between him and Schottenheimer, and this is something we haven't seen a ton of in the preseason games that I have seen a lot of at training camp, and that's pistol formation, right? Where Dak is, in the short shotgun with the back behind him, and it's kind of the blend of both, right? So you can still run downhill schemes with a running back behind you, but you also still get the benefit of the vision of the shotgun snap. So look out for those, changes and see if those are being instituted. Those are kind of key things we'll keep an eye on to see how much of a change there is in the Schottenheimer offense.
All right. Well, the big week is underway. Cut down tomorrow. And don't forget, we'll have full reaction with Landon and Marcus on the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast. And we will be back with you again coming up on Wednesday night for our squad show this week. And then we'll get ready for next week, opening week for the NFL. We'll count down to Thursday. All right, guys. Appreciate you very much. Thank you to everybody that got in with all of your comments. We appreciate it very much. And we'll know a lot more tomorrow. So, Landon, we'll look forward to hearing you and Marcus. And, Coach, thank you for your insight as always. We'll do it again on Wednesday. Appreciate you.
You guys have a great evening.
Okay. The coach, Glenn Stretch Smith, Landon McCool. This has been the Cowboys Squad Show.